Hello, everybody. It's so nice to have you all join me again. My name is Britta Scott with Britta's Bookkeeping and Payroll Services. And I've asked Whitney Turner, she's the branch manager at KeyBank, to join me tonight. Following along the same theme that we've kind of gone with this whole month of different ways that we can keep our business protected. Whitney has shared some experiences with me as a banking manager of different things that she's seen, and I thought it would be super helpful to have her on. So thank you for being with me tonight, Whitney.
Yeah, excited to be here, Britta. Can't ever talk enough about, fraud and everything that's going on, how to protect your business.
Well, awesome. Well, I'm super excited for you to share those tips with us. I know there's so many things. Like, I've focused on cybersecurity and cyber insurance the last couple of weeks, and this is kind of a different spin-off on that. Like, how can we keep our business protected from the fraud that goes on in the banking world? And what are some tips and tricks that you can share with us?
Yeah, for sure. So kind of just wanted to focus on three different areas. First, what are the fraud scams that we're seeing? And then second, how to protect yourself from those. So one of the biggest ones with businesses is check fraud. We see a lot of check fraud rings where people are creating checks that look super realistic, but are not yours. We see them where, maybe checks were mailed out and they were stolen, and then people are writing them out. And then even with employees redepositing checks that they've already received and changing certain things on there, I have seen that happen before. So one of the main ways to protect yourself from check fraud and ACH fraud is through programs that your bank should offer if they do not find a new bank. But what it does is it works with your QuickBooks or whatever program you use. If you digitally print your checks or if you handwrite them, it works with that as well. And it just, you log it into a system. So anytime that check gets presented, it goes through our system where it's verified saying, this is the check number, this is who it should be made out to, this is how much it's for. And as long as all those three things match up, we will post the check and deposit it. If any of those things do not match, if we have no record or maybe the check number's off, you'll get an email saying this check was presented. Do you want us to pay it or not? And so it sounds like it's a lot of an extra step to make sure that all of that's going through, but it really does help. Just for an example, one of our industries that's been hitting pretty hard is lawyers with their IOLTA accounts. I've had two that have had, one was in a check fraud ring, and then the other one had his stolen, and we are working to recover those funds. And they've now been set up with this process and this protection, but it definitely would have been better off if they had had it in the first place. So
yeah. So how does that look like? Like, what does that look like on their end? So are people just creating checks, or are people trying to deposit checks multiple times, or like what does that look like from what they're doing? Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be both. So in the situation of, like the employee one that I mentioned, he was taking his check and changing the account, the check number, kind of washing it out, putting it on there, and then redepositing it, once a month, just here and there, where it wouldn't really get noticed on a larger company that maybe this had been going through. So it took a couple months before they realized what had happened. And then you have to go through the process of, reclaiming the funds and getting all of that process completed.
Wow.
From the other end, I've seen a lot of them where maybe one person gets a hold of a check, they wash it out, clear out the information, but use your number, make copies. Again, if the original checks get stolen. So there's a lot of different ways that fraudsters can do it. Typically, I would say those checks aren't deposited, but are cashed at banks. And so when you have this fraud protection program, a message pops up on our board saying, this should be the person this check is made out to. And if it's not, we're easily able to stop that fraud in the moment.
Oh, that's really cool. That's awesome. Things like, I guess my brain just doesn't work that way. So it's so nice that you guys have the experience and can help us out, because I guess I have too much faith in mankind. But I know I'm learning a lot as I'm becoming a business owner. So thank you. So, and then do you have other ways that they're doing fraud within the banking world?
Yeah, so real quick, I just wanted to touch on wire fraud. So occasionally, and this is scary, banks will get emails from fraudsters saying, hey, this is so-and-so pretending to be the client. Please send funds to this person, right? We've been instructed, and everyone here knows, that we need to call the client with the phone number and information we have on file here at the bank, if any case that we were to get that type of email. And we would have to verify it with them. We've also set kind of regulations on, so depending on the size of your business, you may have to come into the branch to send it. If it's a larger business, you may have the opportunity to request that someone sends that wire for you. And it's in those cases that we definitely want to make sure that your contact information is correct in our system. So if we get an email that, whether it's legitimate or suspicious, that we're able to call. So that can be for wire fraud, or if somebody's just requesting like, hey, I forgot my account number, can you send it to me, right? So just making sure that your contact information is always up to date with your bank is super important in case we get, those are very rare, but they do happen. So
yeah. Interesting. I think I heard recently a kind of a story just like that, where it was like for a home closing, like a home loan closing, and they somehow, the person found out about the loan closing and was able to get in touch with the bank and say, oh, I don't want these funds transferred to this account, I want it transferred here. And all the funds from the sale of the home went to the fraudster versus to the owner. And just by following, like, they have so many different methods of tracking, like when loan closings are going, and just all these different things. So just it's kind of blows my mind every time I hear about it. So
yeah, it is scary, the information they have. So just making sure your contact information is up to date. And if you guys ever, like, if anyone ever receives an email to their business, whether it's stating you are, it's from the bank or anybody else, a vendor, somebody you're trying to make a payment to, just take that extra step to verify it before sending funds, just to be safe. So
yeah, I know I sometimes get frustrated with all the banking two-step verifications, and like as a bookkeeper there, I'll be added as an account user to people's accounts, and sometimes the process is really tedious, but once it gets set up, it works really well. But I can see that there's a definite reason in place for all of this, so protecting us from all the people out there that don't want to do us good. So
yeah, unfortunately, rules and guidelines are put in place when something happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fortunately, unfortunately, right? So
yes.
Well, cool. So is there any other tips and tricks from a banking perspective that you want to share with us to, help us keep things protected?
Yeah, my last kind of subject that I would talk about is just debit card fraud. As a business owner, I would highly recommend that you have a business credit card to make many of your minor purchases, whether it's, if you have employees who need to drive, get them credit cards yourself. I know we see it on the personal side of people's debit cards getting hacked, and you definitely don't want the money in your checking account out there and accessible through that debit card. So credit card for businesses is essential in my mind, just to protect from that kind of fraud.
Oh, that's really cool. I hadn't thought about it that way at all. In fact, I know a couple of people that prefer not to have credit cards for one reason or another. So it's a great plug for having a credit card. So
yeah,
awesome. Cool. Well, such great information. Thank you so much for helping me out tonight and joining us and sharing some of your wisdom with us. So
yeah, welcome. Happy to be here.
Okay, and if people have questions, are you available to answer any questions if I list your phone number for them?
Yeah, you can put my phone number and email. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Okay, awesome. I will do that. Thanks so much, Whitney. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Britta. You too.